okay, I'm gonna give you a hug. With Delilah just showed up. My dog just showed up and tried to climb in my lap.
They're amazing, aren't they?
Well, and it was interesting for me to just like, I am not mad at you about this. There's nothing wrong with you advocating, keep taking actions that keep me safe from a legal standpoint. And yet at the same time, I'm having this huge emotional response. And then he hugged me, and like after a second of hugging, like literally more than a second, I think he leaned over and was hugging me for like 2 minutes before my body started to relax. And I think, when I tried to say what I tried to say, I literally started sobbing. I'm like, I don't fucking care about the legal system. I just need you to have my back. And he's like, that's easy. I'm like, I can't guarantee that part of my healing process won't be to letter or to do something like that. To meet the desire to be heard by Adam might come up, and I can't live in a world where I'm afraid of the legal repercussions if I do that, because that's not real. That's not. Anyways, I did my makeup. There's no crying in makeup. That made me think of there's no crying in base.
Yeah, that's exactly what just popped into my head when you said that. Okay, so what?
My kids love having drums in the house. Drums. There's drums in now. Drums. Last night at like 9:15, Kyne's like, AJ! I'm like, oh, okay, after 9, we're done with the drums. Kyne got a little ragey.
So how can I help you today? What do you want? What would you like to work with today?
One thing I'm really struggling with is not taking on other people's beliefs about me. Kyne and Adam literally were yelling back and forth about how much they hate me, and don't you think I hate her? Of course I hate her. I hate her for this, that, whatever. And it's been really tough for me to to be the person that I am, that I want to be, that I'm creating, while constantly having that story about me, those versions of myself.
Are they actual versions of you, or are they versions of what someone perceives?
Well, they're versions of people that I love perceive. I love Kyne a lot. To hear him talk about he hates me and how much he hates me was really hard. And then to try to talk to him about, where did that come from? What action have I taken that has made you hate me? Like, what did I do? Did I ever beat you? Have I like think about it, buddy? But and then it becomes, I'm tired of interacting with that narrative. I'm tired of trying to convince someone that they don't hate me. Hate me. Go away. Don't even get out of my house.
Okay, so with your son, Kyne, what were his answers?
I honestly can't even remember right now. And I recorded it after about 25 minutes, and me believing he's physical. If I don't find some way to de-escalate him, I turned on my video, turned my phone on video. And even from the time I turned the video, I got 40 minutes of him like ramped up mad. He and I came toe to toe 3 times because he wanted to go attack AJ. Then he wanted to go attack Seth. And this was after he got right up in my face because he was yelling something. I walked up to him like, stop yelling at me like that. I'm gonna smack you across the mouth. And instead of him apologizing or nothing, he literally puffed up and said, I'll punch you in the fucking face. So I was like, and I'll call the cops and you'll get arrested, buddy. Go ahead, call the cops. And I'm just like, oh God, it's Adam. He literally started yelling at the cops. Go ahead, call the cops. I'm like, it's really hard to show up and support somebody who needs that kind of stuff. You know, I'm so fucking freshly traumatized. Damn it, Oni.
Maybe you shouldn't put makeup on before we get on one of these calls.
I didn't think about this. I was all in a good mood. I had my coffee and I'm like, and I joke because I use my free thing of my coffee. I'm like, ooh, free Friday. And she's like, and the guy's like, that should be a thing. I'm like, it should. Anyways. Let's stop looking at this. I don't need to look at all this.
Okay. So what do you, when people, because this seems to be a recurring thing in your life. And let me, my notes. I got notes. This seems to be a recurring thing for you.
I got to a place with like, even Seth last night. Seth started yelling at me that I'm a really shitty mom. Anyways, the way I parent is really shitty. I'm like, buddy, I'm not open to your feedback back on how I parent. I need you to just listen. Please don't pour that much salt on your food. It will make you gag. And if it doesn't make you gag, you're overly dehydrating your body. And I just don't drink water. I'm just saying that's too much salt. That's all. Don't glare at me. Don't yell at me about it. Don't tell me to shut up and not tell you how to treat your food. Disrespect me, man. Because then Octavia literally looked at us, watched us, leaned across the table, got the salt shaker, and shook like I swear a tablespoon and a half of salt all over her asparagus. And then I'm like, motherfucker, because I was just so fed up. And then she started bawling instantly, and they're like, so then I just sat there like this for a second. I'm like, sorry, Octavia, but that is way too much salt. Picked up the salt shaker, which when, because I'd yelled, and so she dropped it, and salt had gone everywhere. So I just felt like a huge asshole because I was just literally trying to give Seth this little, careful, buddy, that's too much salt. And just me saying that to a 15-year-old became him glaring. And while he's glaring at me, I watched his eyeballs well up. And I'm like, and so then I started explaining why not too much salt. And then I realized, I'm like, actually, I feel like I've recently talked about this with you. And he started yelling. I'm just like, yeah, it is really hard for me to feel like I'm a good parent. That's about all I'm doing right now, is a good parent. I feel like I'm being a good anything else, or anything else, actually. I really just feel like I'm only a good parent right now. But it's hard for me to have confidence in my skills as a parent when I'm constantly getting the labeling and then their stories of why I'm that label. I'm tired of battling it. I'm tired of fighting someone's narrative of me.
Okay. And like be quiet. Seriously.
She wasn't talking to me.
She wanted to put her own 2 cents in case she the dog, just so you know.
I think.
Can you, if you were to close your eyes and you were to think about like the first time it really mattered to you what someone thought enough to make you see their narrative of you as the truth. Can you think of that?
The first time?
Yeah.
Probably during winter break. I want to say 96 or 97. I can never remember which year. Because
Can you tell me what that situation was?
well, that's what I was just trying to think back. I'm like, what actual words was she using? So that was when I overdosed on medication. It was an attempted suicide. And my sister Penelope was telling me I should just kill myself.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you close your eyes.
Which it's so weird. I'm like, as I just said that, I'm trying to I'm trying to remember back and remember back and remember back and be like, did she use those words? And I don't know if she did or not. I feel like I remember her saying, you don't have any friends. No one likes you. No one wants you here. But like, I feel like that was then the next thing she said, you just kill yourself. But like, at this point in my life, I'm like, did you add that?
Okay, so let's try this. Let's try going into that relaxation state. So, and if you don't mind, if we do use 45 minutes today, I'm probably going to submit this as part of it. Because
Yep.
if we can get this to, you know, for the people watching this, she knows that I'm recording her for training. So you know. But is that before we even start that, is that something you would like to get rid of? Like, is that something that feeling of always wanting to caring about other people's narratives of you, is that something you would like to try to get rid of?
Oh, that's something I would definitely like to get rid of. I'd like to, it's more than try. I'd love to get rid of, um, I don't know if it's the holding space for, or the having an emotional response to other people's narratives of me. Because a lot of people say, you know, you don't have to give a fuck what anybody else thinks. You don't have to care about what other people think. And I'm like, but that's not true. I love my children and I genuinely care about what they think. But then when we get to the point where they think these horrible, horrible, horrible things, I'm not sure how to address that or deal with that. And also, I am, one of the things that is on my list today is calling the DHS worker that was here back in August and trying to work out potentially some counseling for Kyan and Seth, because that's the direction they need to go. I need to start accepting I don't have to deal with their narratives of me. They can have a counselor that can help them with that. So that's not really my job. I just love them. That's
Okay,
how-
so let's try this. Let's try closing our eyes and putting ourselves in that waterfall. And you can use some of the tapping. That's your anchor for that. So let's,
right?
yeah, right. That one. I think that's the one you wanted, right?
I don't know anymore. I've had
So we're
trouble.
going to put ourselves at the waterfall. We're going to slowly kind of engulf our entire being in that environment of that calm, that peaceful, that relaxed feeling. We're gonna turn up the colors, turn up the sounds so it just engulfs us. So when you feel like you're ready, I want you, with your eyes closed, I want you to float above your timeline. We've done a little bit of timeline work. So float above your timeline and go back to that time, that winter break in 96 or 97. And then little by little, with your eyes closed, I just want you to describe. Let's start with what you were seeing.
And we're talking about the timeline and we're talking about like the drama that happened at my house while my mom was at work during Christmas break. I
When
can't
you did the overdose, like what led to it? What happened? What your sister Penelope? First, we'll talk about what was around you sight wise, like what the whole situation was visually.
I can remember being in the living room. I can't remember where my brother. Oh, it doesn't make sense. I feel like there was someone on the couch with her, but it wasn't either one of my brothers, and it definitely wasn't my mom.
Are you part of it? This looking at it like you're watching a movie.
I'm just watching a movie.
Good. Where are you in this scene?
In the living room, standing by the living room back to the hallway. And I can remember dumping the pills. I didn't do it in the living room. I took the pills in my mom's master bathroom.
And this was just before or just after?
Before. Right before. Because I brought out all the bottles.
Okay. And so right before you started taking the pills, you had all the bottles out. And your sister was on the couch with someone. There was someone on the couch with her. Is this a bright memory or is this kind of dull? What's the level of brightness?
It's really dull. I think it's black and white. There's not. Like I know what color the couch was, but I don't see color on the couch.
Okay.
I hate that couch.
The person on the couch, I know you said you don't know who it is. Could you describe them?
They're a little kid. Like not little kid, but kid. Mm-mm. I can't even tell you. Yeah, I can't even tell if it's a boy or a girl.
Okay. How old was your sister Penelope at this time?
12.
Okay, what is she saying to you?
Nobody wants you here. You don't even have any friends. No one likes you.
Why is she saying what brought this situation on?
I can't remember.
What do you think when she says it? What are you thinking?
She's right.
Why?
Because I'd been really sick for the past 3 or 4 months with migraines. And had missed a lot of school. I'd had MRIs done. There was nothing wrong with me. And I couldn't sleep. But so then I couldn't function at school. So I'd missed like 3 weeks of school. And everyone thought I was just doing it for attention.
So you're thinking she's right because the physical stuff that was going on with you, migraines, being sick, not sleeping, not being able to function at school.
Yeah. I'd gone from having friendships with my friends to my friends would come in and visit me with the lights off in a dark room because my fucking head hurt too much to have even any light or any sound or anything. I just hid.
But they still were visiting you.
Zach and Jesse.
So what made you decide that she was right? How was your mom acting with you?
She was just busy. She was never irritated with me. She was just busy.
So at that point, you made the decision that your sister was right, that nobody wanted you there, no friends, no one liked you, correct?
Yeah, that my entire family would be better off if I were no longer in existence. I really remember thinking that I'll just take these pills and climb into my mom's bed and I'll sink and I'll be gone. I had a vision of myself just sinking into her bed and disappearing. And then she got home from work, it would just be her bed.
Okay, so we're gonna break state. Just get up, move, open your eyes. How's Jesse doing?
How do you want me to check my text messages? I forgot to tell them that I was going to be busy for an hour.
Sure. That'll
Like-
help you smile a little bit.
There we go. Makeup's over. Right?
Could you just go put more makeup on?
No, I just dabbed the corner of my eye. And do you know what this is? You get one guess.
Wetsuit?
There you
Dry-
go. Someone's trying to convince me to go surf. But that 2XL is too big on me. He's like, I wasn't going to tell you what size it was. Because I joke about the size of my body and that I'm huge all the time. And he's like, I don't know whose body you think you're in, but that body's not huge. So shush. I'm like, I weigh more than you do. He's like, you do not. Knock it off. I'm like, whatever, there's a scale. Let's get out and check. He's like, the hell does it matter? I have no idea. It doesn't matter. You don't have to get weighed. Sorry. I'm done. But all I can hear in my head is someone calling me a fat ass. So,
Adam is that?
oh yeah. So then Seth picked up. So that is a nice thing to think of and to realize though. None of my children's insults are creative. They're just repeats. No one's making up their own insults.
So in reality, a lot of times what you're hearing from your kids is really Adam's narrative.
Completely.
So That's something, I mean, that could be something to think about whenever you hear them, is that this is not them speaking.
Right. Right.
But we're going to deal with the rest of that. We're going to try to deal with some of that anyway, but that's just an idea.
I unfortunately have no idea what you just said.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Can you hear me
There.
now?
There you go. She's coming back to us.
Yeah, right.
There.
So all I said was part of that is yeah, if you think about the kids and what they're saying, and it's what Adam was saying, Adam has to make you out to be the bad guy, or even in his own mind, because otherwise then he has to admit he's wrong.
Right. Right. And he's
You
just
know,
not, he's able to do that. Well, I'm like, I'm wrong all the time.
I swear it's like a woman's thing that we sit there and we'll sit there and we'll say, oh yeah, it was my fault. Like we take the blame for so much, even when it's not our fault, that it's like we convince ourselves that we're always at fault. And if you really look at situations, you start looking at them and saying, wait, hold on. Yeah, I could have reacted differently. However, I was reacting, not instigating.
Yeah, not creating.
Creating the problem. I
Right.
was just reacting to the problem. Yes, I could have reacted differently, but that's not necessarily saying that I'm wrong. It's only saying that I could have reacted differently, but I didn't create the situation. The
Yep,
situation was created.
I could have responded instead of reacted, which is what I talked to Kyan and AJ about with the Thursday incident. I literally just froze. Like, I don't know why I couldn't get out of the truck. I remember thinking, just get out of the truck, just get out of the truck and walk away. Just get out of the truck. And I was just like, he's gonna fucking hit me. If I get out of this fucking truck, he's gonna fucking hit me. I couldn't get out of the truck. I was able to. Cops got there. I looked up and saw the cops in the back of the rear view thing. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Let's walk away. Because now he's definitely not going to hit me. But I didn't realize that, I guess, until right now, talking. That's why I froze. Because
That's not uncommon if you've been hit before. It's not uncommon. You freeze because you're like, okay, if I do this, this is what I know I need to do. But if I do this, I'm going to get hit again. I don't want to get hit again. So your body goes, that's it. We're not getting hit. So we're going to stay right here. I don't care what you say. We're staying right here.
Yep. It's like he hit me in the bathtub. When he left, I thought he left. I literally thought he left. So I got up and was going to get dressed. And I was standing here in my towel, and he came around through the other way again and started freaking out and yelling at me and throwing things. And I backed up into the corner as far as I could go. And he didn't hit me. He literally hit a box of books, and it flew across and hit my leg and fell down, which is how I got the big mark on myself. And so then I went down into a corner. I'm like, I can't get any smaller. I cannot go anywhere. And it's been a long time since I ever tried to physically fight back, because the few times I did, he actually punched me, and that was a big motherfucker. So, yeah.
It's
I had other big things come up for me, little things, because I'm not attached to Jesse. I'm not going to get it. I'm not there yet. It's just, and yet not the second, but as soon as the police dismissed me and I was able to walk away, by the time I hit my driveway with Kyan, because they turned around and they wouldn't release Kyan. So I stood there for a second and they released Kyan. I called Jesse and couldn't get a hold of him or whatever. And then that's also something that came up for me when we were not fighting, was when I said that you weren't there. I wanted you to be there and you weren't there, but I couldn't get a hold of you, which is fine. But what the fuck is the point of having a boyfriend if I have to go through situations like this completely on my own and not even able to get a hold of you afterwards? It's like,
yeah.
I have standards that I'm going to set of my quote unquote boyfriend, and you and I've not even talked about it. So don't try to pretend that you've been my boyfriend, because if you're my boyfriend, you fucked up last week, because where the fuck were you when I got attacked? And I'm like, and that's not a conversation I want to have. It's not on you to be there for me. I'm not ready to have that
I need to be able to how to figure it out on my own. I need to not create the space to be mad at someone for not helping me. I need to help myself.
Well, and since he's not in that role, then he's not technically, then he's, that's hard because part of you is like, because you are kind of attached. And so therefore you see it as that should have been part of what he was doing. But at the same time, you're like, no, I'm not attached. So then why would he be there?
Well, and that's when I'm like, I don't want to make this about whether I'm attached or not. I really want to make it about, can I handle situations, breakdowns, crises, whatever, on my own? Because even if I do choose to have a partner or get back into a relationship or whatever, lots of times I'm going to be on my own, and I can't rely on someone else to come save me or someone to be my whatever. Yeah, it's great to have a partner and that sort of thing, but I do need to be able to stand on my own. Because I think emotionally standing on your own is very different than having someone being willing to offer love and support,
Well, them offering and being there does not mean that if you're dependent on that, if that's the only way you can get through your day, that's different than you're able to do things and get through your day on your own. But it's nice to have that emotional support. It's nice to have that physical support, but you don't need it in order to get through your day. And that's where a lot of people, like, I have seen, like, a lot of people, like, they start getting so dependent on that they just don't realize that you're hurting yourself in the long run.
I was really curious too. One thing that, and again, I kind of talked out a bit with him, was that I wonder how I would have shown up. Would I have frozen if Jesse was just kicking it in the house? You know what I mean? If he was waiting inside the house for me to finish moving the truck or whatever, because that's happened before when we put his truck somewhere else and we were there hanging out, and Adam came to pick up the kids and whatever, and there was an exchange, no issues. And so that was something that I kind of talked out with him. I'm like, and that's what I keep asking myself is, because for me, that's not codependent. For me, right there, that becomes a partnership. That becomes because of your love and support, it's way over there, whatever, I was able to show up better. I was able to handle this crisis better. And that didn't occur for me, which is fine. But that's kind of one of the things that I don't know if Jesse is going to make me feel safe from him. And so I don't want to make that Jesse's job. Because when I'm in a partnership, I would like to feel safe with you. And I don't feel safe right now at all, ever. So I need to not be with you until I can feel safe. I don't know if that makes, like, it's such a sticky thing that I'm trying to unpack.
No, it's not. It's not. It makes sense. You want to feel safe on your own. And then if someone comes into your life like Jesse, you don't have to depend on it. Yes, it feels good, unless, yes, it makes you feel better in the long run that you have the backup, but you want to know that you can do it on your own first.
Yep.
So that's not in any way sticky or anything. It's do you wanting, for the first time, from what I've been seeing with you, as far as with these sessions that we've been doing, it's the first time probably ever you've really wanted that independence to the point of the emotional aspect of the independence, not just the, I can do this financially on my own, because you've wanted that. That's why you gotten into your business coaching and everything. But you want the financial, you've always wanted the financial independence, but you've always had that dependent on emotional dependence on Adam for the last however long. And some of it was forced because of the way he acts. And then you're, based on everything you said, look at what this whole situation, which we're going to get back into with Penelope. She's your younger sister, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were 14. She was 12.
Mm-hmm.
She was obviously an extremely angry young lady.
And also had thyroid issues and wasn't able to be balanced in You know what I mean? Like she was too aggressive at school. She injured herself doing just playing just because like she's just too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So
Regulate-
she was not, but you were so dependent on what your younger sister, thought that you like made that decision that other people's opinions matter more to you than your own of yourself.
Well, and I
So-
think that might be like I don't know if I ever established an opinion of myself. I constantly want to hear or see my reflection in other people. Like that's one thing I asked Jesse. I'm like, hey, since I'm being all weird and going through a healing process, I would love to hear how you are creating me for your friends or people you chat with me about with me. Like if you tell your parents about me or whatever. I just look at that version because I'm trying to let go and release someone else's version of me. Hear how I'm occurring to brand new people is really helpful.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah. I know. But this time we're going to go back and we're going to change a few. We're going to try to see if we can change a few things.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to go back into the same day, everything's the same right now. And we're going to try to see if we can change some of you as far as what you were thinking and stuff, and see if we can make that kind of a change.
Okay.
Okay. So I have you take a deep breath. And slowly float above your timeline and bring yourself back to the winter break in 96 or 97. You're in the living room with your sister Penelope, who's 12, and a younger child. Your sister's saying things like, nobody wants you here. You've got no friends. No one likes you. I want you to freeze that. In your mind, at that time, what are some different things you could say to yourself about your friends?
I mean the world to my friends.
If you said that to yourself, then, if you're saying that to yourself, then how could that change how you feel about the situation?
Well, instead of feeling I didn't belong in that family or in the world, it just makes me realize that I don't belong in this interaction with you, sister. I don't belong in this environment. It's also very difficult, not for me now, to not have a lot of empathy and compassion for the little person that was yelling that at me. I took up a lot of my mom's time, and as I was saying, she occurred to me as busy. My sister now spends a lot of time with my mom, and so a lot of that was just a little girl saying, "You're taking up my time with my mom, and I want time with my mom." And so I've never thought about it that way before.
So your
Like-
sister, if you think about your
Sorry.
sister's motives, no, that's exactly, I'm going to go. That's,
Well,
you
literally,
think about your sister's motives at the time.
Seth yelled at me last night. Seth, like, when I was trying to make plans for his next permit test and stuff, Seth yelled at me that I flaked on him on Wednesday or the day before because I was too busy hanging out with Jesse. And I just let it stand. I didn't argue back with it or nothing. But then
Why?
this, Because I'm trying not to fight with Seth. I'm trying to let what he feels and says stand. And then later ask him, is that true? Is that what really happened? And so then this morning, Seth walked by the car and stood there for a second. I'm like, what's up? Well, I want to ask something, but I was an asshole. I'm like, what's up, dude? What do you want to ask? Well, like, I'm supposed to get my physical done between this time and this time, but I was an asshole last night at dinner. I'm like, that's okay. I don't let the way that you treat me, me showing up for you. I'm trying to say that that's not actually what's happening. Like, is that really what happened? Did I really blow you off for that? And he's like, no. And I'm like, and yesterday I couldn't pick you up because why? He's like, there was a code yellow. And I'm like, and can I help you be grateful that you weren't the one injured? You're not the student who left in an ambulance yesterday. You just were the one who couldn't get picked up by his mom to go take his permit test. And I'm literally offering to do it today. So is this about Jesse, or is it about the code yellow? Or is this about you get really upset when things don't go exactly the way you want them to? Yeah, thank you. I don't know why I always talk like Seth. You've heard Seth, he's like super deep. But anyway, so it's interesting for me right now in this whole moment of realizing that Penelope is yelling these things at me because I'm taking away her mom time and she wants her mom time. And like Seth last night at dinner, literally yelled at me about flaking on him because I wanted to spend time with Jesse instead, which was complete bullshit. But at the same time, oh, I get it. I see.
Okay, so then if that's the case, go with that. Like the idea of that. If you look at a lot of people's, like what people have said to you over the years, if you go with that philosophy of like looking at their motives, can you change like Adam's philosophy, the Adam's comments and stuff? Can you look at them in a different way now? And not hold the same space for them, not hold the same emotion to them, because you can look at them in a different way.
Well, it is much easier for me to start to see that, like, it's not about me. They're hurting. No, I definitely still need to learn the shielding or the bubbling or whatever, because I instantly go, well, they're hurting because of me. They're hurting because of my work. They're hurting because of my actions. Like I told Jesse, I'm like, I told you going to be completely done seeing you because Steph had a problem with it and it was making Adam freak out and push his freak out at you. And I'm going to be responsible for you getting injured because I'm still attached to someone who does that shit. So yeah, I'd rather cut you out than create that. He's like, that's not fair and you're not allowed to do that. So I know where you live. Anyways. But that's to realize, like, I'm literally keep making myself smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller because of the impact I'm being told I have on them. And so I need to figure out how to not let that stuff get on me, because it gets on me.
Okay. So let's try going back to that memory. Okay, we're gonna try something a little bit different then. As your sister is saying these things to you, and you realize now that she's saying them because she's hurt, you were having physical ailments. You were having literally medical issues. So why is it your fault?
Oh,
Did you ask those migraines? Did you ask for those migraines?
No.
Did you ask for those physical ailments and the not being able to sleep?
No.
Did you purposely say to your mom, I want you to spend time with me and not with Penelope?
No, definitely not.
So is her blaming you? If you were to decide today that her blaming you back then was her and not you, would that change the way you see that memory?
Yeah.
Yeah. How would that change the way you see that memory? What do you see Penelope as right now? Like with that new look on the memory, how do you see Penelope now?
A tantruming teenager. Because that's what they do. They have verbal tantrums.
Okay. How do you feel about yourself now with that new idea of that that memory?
I just feel like I wasn't strong enough or skilled enough to be able to exist in that environment at that time.
Is that
Yeah.
your fault?
No, I almost want to be like, it's just a baby witch and I haven't figured out how to bubble yet. It's like, it is weird to go back and think about all the times that I was so lonely in there. I was so lonely. And I started having relationships with stuffed animals and things. It's just interesting for me to try to remember back and be like, that's why I was so creative and that's why I wanted to be creative. And all of that is still there. I just like, I don't know.
So if you look forward through your timeline from that spot with the idea of, with that thought of people blame you for things because they're hurt, but how much of that is actually your fault? And you really look at each situation, how does that change?
Say it again. Sorry, I just got consumed with I have never used the words. I was so lonely as a kid. I didn't realize I was so flippin' lonely. I just didn't realize that. Anyways,
How many kids were there? There's Penelope, there's you.
my mom has 8 kids. There's 3 younger than me, Penelope, Ben, and Thomas. And then above me is Nathan, Elizabeth, Jamie, who disappeared when I was 11, and Christine. Christine is 51.
So why did you, what made you so lonely? What made you feel so lonely? 8 kids around. I mean, granted, some of them are old enough that they probably were not around for very long while you were younger.
Because they just beat me up. Like Elizabeth used to beat the crap out of me. Nathan treated me like I didn't really exist, and then I was told that he supposedly sexually abused me. Penelope was verbally and physically abusive to me, and I was left in charge of Ben and Thomas often and didn't handle it as well as I could have. And so I have quite a few memories of me unsuccessfully getting Ben to go to sleep, of him running down the street in his little underwear because he climbed out of his window instead of staying in his bed. What are we supposed to do about that at 12 and 14? So like, no, I didn't have friends in my family. I didn't have sibling friends. Penelope and Elizabeth were close later in years. Thomas, I think, feels the same way. Doesn't have close relationships in his family. A little bit, but
Nathan, how was his relationship? How were his relationships with Penelope? Or how was his relationship with Penelope? It'd be really good if I used the right tensing.
it's okay. I don't know if they have any of a relationship.
How about back then? Can you remember any, like, how he treated her back then?
Not at all. I can remember a little bit of Jamie, Elizabeth, Nathan hanging out, but not ever interacting with the little kids. There was definitely little kids, big kids feeling.
Okay. And Nathan's the one that abused Penelope?
Correct. And Ben and Thomas.
So all of them.
Well, I should say and me, but you know,
So he abused his little brothers and his little sisters?
yep. It was just described to me as sexually inappropriate touching.
That's interesting.
It's
How,
one of those,
what is he like now?
Nathan struggles with drugs. Nathan has 3 kids with his ex-wife and 2 kids that he had before that. He has very, very unstable relationships. Like his ex-wife left him for his brother.
For Thomas or Ben?
Ben.
That, on a personal note, that's a really good way of saying, ha ha ha, you abused me, I'm getting your wife.
Right? Yeah.
That's on a personal note. I'm gonna delete that, or if I can. But
What minute are we on? Well, that's one of the things that, like, I am the one who told his wife that he had abused all of us because I didn't know she didn't know. And so repercussions of that had come up for me in my parenting or whatever. And she was my babysitter at the time, and she was there nursing her young newborn, staying a little later than she would have, but the baby was hungry before she left. And I don't remember how it came up. Nathan was so mad at me. How dare I gossip about him? How dare I tell his young wife these things about me? I'm like, dude, she's spending time with my kids, and I'm pretty direct about what's an appropriate level of interactions with my kids' genitalia. So one of the reasons I tell people is why I'm real clear on what's appropriate and what's not appropriate with my kids and with people who are going to be interacting with my kids in a care providing fashion, because we have abuse in our history. I have abuse in my history. So to make sure that's not at all repeated, we talk about what's inappropriate, what's not inappropriate. Even when my kids are, I will say things like, now I'm only touching you right here to make sure that you're clean. And now that you're clean, I'm not going to touch you anymore. The only time mommy ever touches you there is to get you clean. And no one else ever touches you there. Same thing like when we go to the doctor, they're like, okay, I'm going to look at your private parts, and I'm only going to do that because the mom's right here and because I'm a doctor and we're at a doctor's office. There's no other time where this is okay. And I'm like, good job. So I'm pretty direct with people about it. I use very direct language because it is my belief. Direct language helps create what we want and what we don't want. Like I have even done things like, Octavia, get your privates off my body, please. Like she'll come and sit on my lap and just sit inappropriately. And little kids, if you don't correct them, they will do that kind of stuff, So, and yeah, anyways, I'm real careful of that. One of my sister's children, she's positive that she was sexually abused by family members. Little things that show up when they're really young are ways that and then they get tested and checked out, and yep. Nope. I would like to say we've been able to completely avoid that in my realm of kids because of strong language. Just like I really hope all of my kids are going to be able to avoid domestic violence, abuse, and control in relationships because we talk about it. We identify it. Kyan's big escalation started with me saying, please don't say, can I not just? Because I'm like, buddy, you're just going to sit around all day? Because he went from being upstairs on video games to just upstairs sitting on the couch. I'm downstairs sitting on the couch. And it was me saying, I'm like, can you do something today productive? Like he said this. And he literally stood up and started yelling, can I not just sit on the couch? I'm like, okay, for one, don't just, it's not, but I can't remember if I said abusive language. I said something, can I not just? Because, yeah, of course, you're welcome to sit on the couch. Of course, you can sit on the couch. But what I'm saying is, are you going to be productive with your day?
because you've gone from sitting here to sitting there. He got so mad.
So, question, going back to this, if you were to start putting that decision of making that decision in your memory, you made that decision to look at the situation differently and looking at it, if you make that decision to do that and you start doing that from then and bring it forward to now and from this point forward, can you see how you might not make as much space for that other people's narratives, or does that feel like it really hasn't changed any?
Oh, it's definitely changed. And it's definitely something I kind of want to unpack a little bit, because going back to that memory now with the belief that this is just a jealous little kid. And I gave this little kid so much power with their words that I made the situation much worse. I didn't need to give them power with their words. Which part of that goes right back to the truck. I'm not going to do what he tells me to do anymore. Tell me get the fuck out of the truck. I'm not moving. Fuck you. I'm not doing what you tell me to do anymore, because I know what you tell me to do is bad. Like, that's what, at least my brain gets there, but like at the same time, it's like I could get to where I'm like, I'm not doing what you say. In sitting in the truck, my brain couldn't come up with an action. I couldn't come up with then do this. You know what I mean? I couldn't get there. And so that it's interesting now to go back and put myself into the scene of being a kid, instead of like watching it, to put myself into the scene and think, okay, now that I know, standing here as me, that Penelope just feels jealous and wants attention and doesn't get enough attention. And this is, in her little kid brain, if my sister goes away, I get attention. Or if I can hurt my sister's feelings, then I will feel better, because she'll have hurt feelings too, which is just what little kids do. I'm not sure how I would have responded if I had been able to think like that at that time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not sure if I can say, take care of yourself, Sarah. I'm not sure if realizing that would make me then, okay, how do I help her now? You know what I mean? I have to stop doing that for somebody else. That's happened so quick for me that it's trying to be like, you can help her. Hang on, how do you help yourself? It takes, yeah. So I should write that down. Let's see if I can write that down and summarize that, because I need to stop talking, start writing. It's a pencil.
Okay, I'm gonna end the recording of this. I just wanna, for me,
Yes.
not even for the recording, for me, you do see that differently, and you can see how that can affect, seeing that situation differently now can affect you even to this day, like how you look at people and the situations you're in.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we'll work on maybe some other ways of continuing that, and
Right.
and like looking at the situation not as what did I do, why these people think of me, more of the why are they putting that narrative to me when it's them, like looking at it like, okay, I need to take care of myself better and not worry so much about them.
Right.